Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson contained in the Johnson edition. We are at poem 204 of the 1,775 poems of the Johnson edition. This poem, A Slash of Blue, was sent to Sam Boyles. It is another nature poem. One or two scholars have pointed out that if Sam Boyles would be happy with receiving an Emily Dickinson poem, certainly it was this one because it's so accessible. And it is an accessible poem, there's no question. But as I've said to you guys before, I think there's something often happening beneath the surface of these quasi-simple nature poems, and we'll try and see what kind of pairings are maybe going on here. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, again, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already played around with our introductory set of comments, and I'm hopeful that you've already been able to read the previous 203 poems. We just finished with 203, He Forgot I Remembered. Now, of course, here we have Emily's love of nature and love of morning. She will mention several times this idea. Notice all the pairings in this poem from evening to morning and the like. I think she's having a lot of fun, by the way, with the vocabulary of this poem. Hear all the S sounds as we read them. A slash of blue, a sweep of gray, some scarlet patches on the way compose an evening sky. A little purple slipped between, some ruby trousers hurried on, a wave of gold, a bank of day. This just makes out the morning sky. Now notice we move from the evening sky to the morning sky, and obviously we've got some comparisons here, and of course we're playing around with all these S sounds. Notice it's a slash of blue, it's a sweep of gray. Now we're talking, of course, about the evening. Some scarlet, so notice we go from ruby to from scarlet to ruby. Some scarlet patches on the way compose an evening sky, right? And then from there, the shift. A little purple, again, her use of that word little, she loves it in 172 poems at least. She uses this little word, little. A little purple slip between, some ruby trousers, again from scarlet to ruby. Trousers hurried on. This is her only time in all of her poetry she ever uses the word trousers. And by the way, you can run to ground the etymology of this word trousers. It's a fascinating study. Pants, of course, trousers. But a lot of trousers in the etymological history, and whether Emily fully appreciated this or not, has to do with pairings. That is to say, pair of trousers. Why? Because there's two legs and all of that. So notice the juxtapositions here between the two. And then we're back to it. From slash and sweep, we go to wave and bank. A wave of gold, a bank of day. I love her use of the word bank, because of course there are river banks. There's this notion of the banks of the coming sun on the, as the sun rises. But bank has an economics term to it as well. Promise, as in promise, right? In other words, I put my money in the bank so it can hold there so I can use it later. A bank of day, it's a wonderful line. This, and then her use of the word just, study the way she does this, it's fascinating. This just makes out the morning sky. So in other words, from the evening sky to the morning sky. And I think that the argument that she's making here, it's fairly simple. And yet I think there's something really profound happening in her pairings. That you always have the evening, but you also have to remember the day. And the morning time is, for Emily, glorious, right? It is beautiful. In other words, yes, of course, the evening sunsets are stunning, but so are the mornings. Of course, think of it this way, and I'll ask you guys to think about it in your own life. Which have you seen more of? Evening sunsets or morning sunrises? Right. And, this is, I think, usually true for most people. We've probably seen 3 to 1 more sunsets than we've seen sunrises, because so many of us don't wake up in the morning to actually see the sunrise. We have a sense that Emily did, and we have a sense that Emily enjoyed the sunrise, unless, of course, she had been up all night writing and she didn't want her dad to come in and open up the curtains. We've talked about that one already, and let in the sun. Of course, at 2b, the personification of the morning sky is a lot of fun here, and I love this word choice with the word trousers. At 3a, I would like to think about how during this time that this poem is written, we also have in New England someone else writing about the morning, and of course it's Henry David Thoreau and his Walden. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net. Think about what he had to say, though, in that passage. We must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aids, but by an infinite expectation of the dawn that will not forsake us in our soundest sleep. And then he'll go on to say, I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability to a man to elevate his life by a conscious endeavor. Right before that passage, if you go back and look at it in your copy of Walden, you'll see that he's talking specifically about the morning. And the morning is representative of what? Awakening, no longer sleeping. In other words, some kind of spiritual awakening. This poem can be read very subtly as, I know you like the sunset, but the sunrise is way more powerful because that's where the bank is. That's where the resources are to begin a new day. And finally at 3b, well, this is a fun question. I mean, when was the last time that you got up early enough in the morning to see the sunrise? And which one of the two do you enjoy more, the evening sunset or the morning sunrise? Which for you is the better sky? Or thankfully we can have them both, right? Thank you.